Today will be the penultimate race of the season, but the results may be decisive in regards to the championship. With 4 drivers separated by only 14 points, if any one of them gets a leg up heading into the finale, the rest are left to play catch-up. Let's see what Sebring brings us as we get ready to watch round 11 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Hosting the first U.S. Grand Prix in the modern era, this place certainly has its connections to Formula One. Let's head to our track guide to find out a bit more about it. Welcome to Sebring International Raceway. Home to the 12 Hours of Sebring, one of the most grueling tests in endurance racing, this is a track which has earned a fearsome reputation among drivers. The circuit itself is located on the southeastern edge of the city of Sebring, Florida, and was built out of Hendricks Army Airfield shortly after World War II. 3 layouts are currently in use, ranging from 1.7 to 3.7 miles in length. The longest course, which is perhaps the most well-known with it being the one used for the famed endurance race, shockingly still contains portions of the original airfield surface. It's this aspect which has become a signature feature of the track, making it extremely bumpy for racing. Sunset Bend in particular nearly shakes cars apart while they attempt to navigate the high-speed 180-degree corner. As you'd expect for the side of an airfield, there's nearly no elevation change over the course of a lap, but many of the curves are dramatically tall and unforgiving, daring drivers to glance them yet not hit them directly. Thankfully, places to pass are plentiful, including spots like the Hairpin and Cunningham. However, the many fast, sweeping turns creates a dilemma for car setup, since a vehicle that's made too stiff could wind up bottoming out on the onerous bumps. In the end, if you have the wherewithal to withstand the track's rough nature, you're likely to fare well. And since Florida fans almost always show up in huge numbers to witness this test of car and driver, you'll have plenty to impress at this legendary North American road course. Well, Christian, it is going to be bumpy, but at least these cars are already a little bit more compliant than most.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very, very rough track, which tends to play havoc with high downforce modern race cars. But these cars are a little bit more compliant. That said, it's still a very, very difficult track. Obviously, we've got a bunch of kind of sweeping corners, which are non-corners in other cars, such as Fangio Bishop. You know, they're proper corners in the 49, kind of as we said last week with Interlagos. Obviously quite a long lap, so only 22 laps today, so that's going to be interesting, and I expect we'll see a lot of field spread actually on the first lap, just because of the nature of quite a few of the slow speed corners.
I have a feeling it's going to be around 2 minutes to try and cycle around here, but if we take a look at the championship, this is what I was talking about. Top 4, only 14 points. Martin Granberg's the odd one out in our graphic. But Tixier, Hosada, Trengrade, and Vascalampi are all still in the hunt. Now, all 5 are mathematically possible to take the championship, but most likely we're going to see it decided amongst those first 4. In the meantime, we also have a Formula 2 championship. Christian, how's that one?
Well, there's actually been a bit of a lead change here. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado has 280 points and has taken that lead away from Jorge Neva, who's pretty much had it the whole season. Neva's back there, 16 points behind. Matthew Maudsley, he's only 4 points behind, though, so it's still pretty tight for the championship itself. Rowley Wallbank, he's moved up into 4th. He's 26 points off the lead. Gary Ho, 2 points behind in 5th.
And if we take a look at the Nations Cup, Finland is once again managing to stay well ahead. United Kingdom has moved themselves up into 2nd. Singapore still pretty tight with both the United States and Germany, but it's starting to look like this is going to be Finland's race, Finland's season, rather. And of course, for today's event, you already mentioned it a little bit there, Christian, but what do we have in store for us?
Well, it's the second to last round of the season. 17 laps? Is that correct? So, I was wrong. It's not 22 laps. It's actually even shorter. 17 laps. Open setup today, as always in the 49, and no spare car. And I think, you know, we've seen some actually pretty clean first laps. I'm worried about the hairpin. I really am. I think that's going to be key to a good race. You've got to get through the hairpin on lap 1 without an incident.
Absolutely. As we're going to take a look at the qualifying, which is underway. And I don't think we have anybody with a time in yet here currently. So we're waiting for someone to put one down. It's actually a little bit hot on the track surface as well out in Florida today. 99 Fahrenheit, 37 Celsius for those over on the metric system. And it's just a little bit of wind, not really anything drastic to write home about as we hop on board with Grandberg to see if maybe he can play catch-up this time. He usually has the number 1 on his car, and he does again once again today. So as he comes down the Ullman Straight, I think this might be his out lap right now. So still needs to get on a flyer. Well, and I'm not sure if this is intentional to try to open up the corner. If it is, I believe it's legal, but that was not the usual line.
Yeah, I'm not too sure that was his intention. It kind of looked like the car tried to get away from him a bit, and you know it's only an 8-minute session, so to get both laps in plus the out lap, it's actually quite tricky. You've got to make sure that you don't, if you have a mistake halfway around your first lap and actually crash the car, then you're pretty much done for qualifying. There's no way you're going to get around in time to do the second lap.
Indeed, and it is now the first flyer for Grandberg coming through the back and forth, and this is into Big Bend, coming down to the hairpin that Christian was a little bit worried about, and this is a tight little hairpin, also with a bit of an awkward exit here. That's caught out a lot of drivers too.
Yeah, it's kind of a horrible place to be side by side with someone, just because it's so tight and you're struggling so much to put the power down. Being side by side with somebody and trying to kind of actually make it a corner at the same time is doubly difficult. But the entry to the hairpin is also really quite tricky because you've got that surface change in the braking zone. So it's actually very, very easy to overshoot the corner.
So we come down into Tower now. The nose dipping down. Thankfully, able to get it turned through there. I always hated Tower just because of that kink in the braking zone, taking it right up to the grass. And this is Bishop, which you can hear the lift there as he's coming through. Can't completely take it flat out. And then into Jean Demien. And he's going to finally be able to unleash the throttle down the Ullman Straight. And one more corner to go in the form of Sunset here for a timed lap. So far, I haven't seen an off. It's looked clean enough, but what's the time going to be?
It's looked quite a tidy lap, but Sunset, difficult corner. Got to make sure he gets it right. Looks pretty good on entry.
A little bit better than the last one, that's for sure. And just off the apex, as we see a lot of cars tend to try and square off the exit. Down to the line, Grandberg, what's underneath him? It's a 2-flat-9. And that is going to be the first time on the board. We wait for others to now cycle in. Tyler, 7/10 back. But Tixier takes the pole away. Grandberg still remains in second place. We're waiting on guys like Vascalampi. Nieva, our former championship leader in the AMS, finds himself into 7th. Don't have one for Hisada or Trangarade either. So all the big hitters are still looking for it. And I think, if I'm looking right, Vascalampi's still barely through his first lap. I don't think he's going to be able to get around for a second one, is he?
In the pre-race chat, Vascalampi was actually talking about intentionally not qualifying. So we'll have to see if he actually goes through with that.
Oh, and Hisada, 6/10 quicker than Sebastian Tixier. Now, Sebastian may be leading the championship, but he still hasn't had a win in 10 rounds. Ove Trangaré gets a little closer to the Japanese driver, 0.4 of a second, and he's on the front row. But it is looking somewhat spread apart between Hisada and everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of ridiculously fast, if I'm honest. He's got 0.4 over the field at a 2-minute lap. That's, he's checked out. If that's comparable to his race pace, he's going to be very hard to beat.
Indeed, and here we see the driver from Singapore doing his best to try and compete with Hisada and Trangarade. 2 minutes left, so he will be able to get around in time to set one. Should have, I believe it's about 33 drivers out here today that signed up. We'll double check on that in a second as Tixier comes into the braking. getting on the binders, down through this long right-hander with no runoff to the outside. And it looked clean to me as he comes down to the line. Look at the tail squirming as he tries to get the power down. And it's going to be a 2-flat-1. That is just shy of Hisada by 5/100ths.
Yeah, very nice lap. Not quite enough to beat Hisada, but, you know, it's put him up there in that top two that have got about a 4/10 advantage on everybody else right now.
Plumlee coming around, sitting in 13th place. He's going to cross the line. 2:02.4 is not going to be quicker. Hisada trying to extend his lead. Does the first driver to dip under the 2-minute mark of 59.5. So 6/10 now clear of everybody out there. My goodness, Trangrade abandoned his second lap. He's done. Granberg, for some reason, he must have abandoned his second lap because he's now just starting a lap. So that doesn't seem accurate here. Salgado looks like his second one only puts him in 13th. Nieva will remain in front of him.
Yeah, and last week it was very, very tight across the top 10, and the gap's almost twice as much this week, and quite a bit of it is actually first through the top 4.
Yeah, I think that is everybody that is able to set a time. Rolly Wallbank could put another one in as he's coming around in the 27. Just watching to see if he finally gets one on the board. 2:03.3. Actually, that was important for him because that jumps him up into 18th. Before we get to the qualifying, though, make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. For today's qualifying, Togo Hisada looks to be the man to beat, but Sebastian Tixier, who still wants that first win, is going to start next to him. Ove Trangrade will start from third, followed by Bill Tyler in P4. You've got Martin Granberg in fifth, John Olsen in sixth, with Laust Olsen, no relation, in seventh. Fabian Donna starts P8. You've got Gary Quellen ninth and Jorge Nieva rounding out your top 10.
Miro Razki lines up alongside Richard Yelland, a driver that we've not actually seen for most of the season here in P12. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado, he's lining up 13th. A little bit behind his rival for that F2 championship, Jorge Nieva. Robert Plumlee, a driver we've seen get some good results, he's lining up in 14th with Michael Grissinger and Gary Ho in 15th and 16th. Matthew Maudsley, that second place driver in the F2 championship, he's lined up in 17th. Rolly Wallbank, inside the top 20 here, P18 today with Randy Ho and Glenn Becker rounding out the top 20.
Don Peak starts 21st. That's a good qualifying for him as Cam Porter starts from 22nd. Then it's Andre Bruno, P23. Paul Ferrer starts 24th with Eugenio Massa on the inside of the next row. Timothy Porter will be 26th. Andrew Ang starts 27th. And Alvaro Cortinez 28th. Last one to set a time was Gary Anderson. Vascalampi, true to his word, didn't set a time. He'll start from 30th. It's Ben Summers, Lance Simon, and Robert Reynolds rounding out your 33-car field. Top 3 in the points are top 3 on the grid today as the engines now start to rev and the lights come up for round 11. And the green flag is out off the line. Togo Hisada a little bit slow compared to Tixier at first, but Tixier starts to get wheel spin in the second phase. Here comes Trangrade up his inside, trying to take it away as they go 3 wide behind them for 4th position. Everybody trying to give each other space through this wide turn that narrows up. So far, so good. Trangrade still in a fight for P2.
Couple of big moves happening in the middle. I think Laust Olsen's gone off onto the grass. It was looking like a nice move, but it's just not worked out. He's got it gathered up, though.
He's going to lose a couple spots, but he kept it down to just a few that he lost. And I see Rolly Wallbank falling backwards. Not sure what happened back there. Down into the hairpin for the first time. Top 10, mostly single file, but now we got 3 wide back there involving, I think, Laust Olsen. They're going to cycle down into a single file line as well, thankfully. And no incidents the first time through at that sharp turn 7.
Yeah, the hairpin is a bit of a funnel, but it does appear that most drivers have got through there without incident.
All right, as we now watch Hraski, it looks like I think Tixier just got passed by Granberg.
There has been an incident. Quellen is off.
And that looks like Olsen. Yeah, Laust Olsen, I think maybe in a separate incident, spun it on his own, and he's going to have to retire as that engine is done for the day. So as one of the drivers manages to get it going once again, we've got at least one other that finds his race prematurely ended. Quellen also just spinning up the rears and finding himself into the barrier.
And the exact same incident there from Olsen.
Just a little
First
bit
lap
too,
to forget.
Yeah, a little bit too slippery, I think, on those colder tires as they try to get them up to temperature and getting grip. And across the line, Hisada leads Trangrey. Granberg finds himself in third, but Tixier wants it back. You can see him actually diving to the inside here. Is he going to be able to peel that one away and get back onto the podium? It looks like that's a yes, but it's not done. Still a little side-by-side coming down to 3, but braking later. Now we've got Sebastian back on the podium.
Yeah, and Tixier had obviously a pretty amazing qualifying. Oh, Richard Yellen has gone off on the exit of turn 1. He has also retired from the race. His engine is blown. But yeah, Tixier, he had a great qualifying, but the first lap was a little bit mediocre, to be honest.
So that'll be Yalland, Olsen, Quellen already in pit lane. Everybody else able to keep going here as we watch from on board.
We've got an incident on the straightaway as well. Cam Porter and I believe 2 other cars. Somebody is flipping down the straight towards the hairpin.
Yeah, and it looks like that's Cam Porter, and I'm trying to figure out who the other one was. Andre Bruno, car that was flipping. I think was Rolly Wallbank. So we'll try and get a replay on that a little bit later, but they're all still quite close together. Oh, excuse me, we're on the replay here. Oh, a little bobble. Oh, and unfortunately, a slow car coming through Big Bend is not what you expect. And there you see what happens when at speed, these things make contact and it's not a minor incident.
No, huge incident there for Bruno and Rolly Wallbank. He was the driver that you see flipping back onto the track there.
Not sure who that was in the orange and blue that made contact, but it was pretty solid contact, so doubt they got away from that one safely. Meanwhile, as we come back to our leader, Hisada about 1 second ahead of Trangrey, so he's looking hunky-dory up there, but Tixier not so much. Not only does he have Granberg behind him, but here comes Bill Tyler.
Yeah, we've seen some strong runs from Bill Tyler over the course of the season, but he's looking pretty threatening for this this 4th place spot, maybe even 3rd here with Tixier.
As we come around through the first corner once again, the New Yorker gives us an onboard perspective down into turn 3. Not quite close enough. Behind him, it's John Olsen and Fabian Donna all in a line. And I just realized that John Olsen has started painting his car yellow. I'm not sure how long that's been, but the 2 Olsens, I think, intentionally now trying to make life hard for us.
It must be. And they normally run around about the same place in the field as well.
Of course, yeah. Well, I don't want to say that we wish ill on Laust, but he has made it a little bit easier for us as he's found his way towards the back now. Meanwhile, Bill Tyler here in that number 6, starting to drop away from Granberg. They're all kind of getting their own little comfortable spot on the track. And they come through Collier. So far, so good in this race, despite a couple incidents at the start. The majority of the field seems to be settling in, but I want to give a shout out to Vascalopi. We are on lap 3, and the number 2 car has gone up 18 positions.
Yeah, I'm surprised he went with that decision to not qualify at all, but obviously he's got his own plan for the race today, and it's gone badly.
Oh, and that was Marco Salgado, and that was our championship leader in the AM Championship, the F2. He's going to slip farther backwards. Nieva has a good shot at taking massive points over him today. And what happened here? This is up into Bishop. You can see them coming into that wide sweeper Is this a difference in braking zones? Oh, it was a spin.
Yeah, Salgado was kind of about to go around on his own there, and Vascalampi was just arrived to the scene a little bit too soon.
And Vascalampi did not get away from it safe. He's in pit lane. Salgado has been limping as well, so both of them are paying the price for that mistake. They're going to have to take repairs here early in today. A few of them, Laust Olsen, we're hearing, might be able to get back out there, but everybody else doesn't have enough time to repair the car and try and take a couple laps just to salvage something. But Martin Granberg, who sits behind the very gold number 8 in the bronze position. Oh, and did John Olsen lose a spot? He did. He's off course. John Olsen falling down to 10th, and this is in the hairpin.
Yeah, we'll have to see if there was any other cars involved here or if it was just a solo incident. I suspect it was just a solo incident.
That is the only one off. So here he is right now, the Club West driver. I think he may have touched the grass. Let's watch. Coming into the braking. Oh, that, yeah, car wiggled and off he goes.
And you know, we've seen that actually so much this season where drivers will just dip the outside rear tire onto the grass and lose the car. I mean, we've seen it from the absolute fastest drivers in the series. We saw it from Claridge actually quite a few times. So it's very easy to do. You kind of don't realize that the rear is just a bit wider than the front. And it sounds obvious, but you know, when you're just trying to get a little bit more pace, it's very, very easy to do it.
Yeah, you don't see it like you can see those front tires in this car. As we come back to the battle for the lead, and there is the distance that has been separated amongst our top 3, each about 2 seconds apart or then some. Granberg's really the closest, about a second back from Tixier, but even that really not much of a battle anymore. We have to go all the way down to 12th for the first close fight between Maudsley and Grissinger. And so this is Don Peak with Pole Ferrer, I think, managing to make inroads. So Don's going to have to give that one up as the Ferrari liveried Lotus is going to manage to move himself into 14th.
Yeah, a nice move, but it looks like a little bit wide there through turn 1 from Paul, but he's gathered it up.
Don no longer sporting those Bengals colors, it looks like now. As,
well, I wonder why.
I won't poke the bear too much, but Gary Ho now starting to approach. But Don up 5 positions since the start. 6 positions, actually, because he started 21st. So, so far, so good for him. But we'll see if some of that was gained by the attrition we've seen early in this race, because it certainly seems like there's some faster drivers around him for the time being.
Yeah, and speaking of one driver that was involved in an incident but is miraculously still going, Timothy Porter, we saw him, he was in that big wreck that we had on the run down to the hairpin, but he's still running in 17th somehow. And he's actually up 9 spots from where he started.
Okay, well, I like that never say die attitude. As the 33 carries on, but we follow Don Peak down through Tower, trying to keep up with Ferrer after being overtaken. And Michael Grissinger just in front of them as well. I was talking about how he was close to Maudsley. No more. He's dropped back to about 1.3 seconds behind him. And I just realized, yeah, drivers starting to get creative with the paints here, because I never noticed before that he put the spec map actually on the numbers itself. I didn't think about the fact that you could do that here in the Lotus.
No, I didn't either. And then drivers, you know, obviously actually talk a lot about the spec maps and how it interacts with numbers, but you know, putting it on the circle itself is actually quite a good idea.
That's clever. Got a little wide here, but I think he's going to be able to hold it together, not lose a position. And yeah, that is fair game. Yes, it may have been a rule back in the day for the Lotus that it had to be the white with the black numbers, but they don't have that limitation here in the sim. Behind him, Pole Ferrer is now the one that went a little bit wide. And Don Peak as well. Everybody looking like they're slipping up everywhere. And that's going to make him vulnerable to Ho. Ho cannot quite get the inside, but now he's much, much closer.
Yeah, and I think that there's a couple of drivers behind Don here who are probably a little bit faster as he moves to the left to let Gary Ho by.
I'm not too shocked there. Don tends to not want to try and complicate his races, so he's just going to let him by once he had the good run. So the 15 up into 15th now for Gary Ho. And we're only on lap 6 of this race. Paul Fair, who we saw up in front of them, starting to gain on Grissinger as they break for Cunningham. And now into Collier, definitely not flat out in these cars through there. And jumping a little farther up, what have we got here? This is the battle between, I think, Nieva and Hraski.
Yeah, Razki's been running him down a little bit, and Nieva looks just a little bit unsettled right now.
Okay, so Hraski also up 11 positions from where he started this race. So, excuse me, no, up 3 positions. Both Nieva and Hraski up 3 positions here, but started in 11th. Looking at the wrong number. As they come down into Sunset Bend, looking to square it off. Both of them much tighter to the inside than we've seen some of the faster drivers. And that was almost going to be a better exit for Hraski, but couldn't quite get the grip still. He remains within about 2 car lengths. Coming into turn 1, close enough that he thinks he's got a chance at it. He's going to try to get the inside. He's given space by Nieva, but it won't give him the position.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he was left space, if I'm honest, because he came from a mile away. I didn't think he was even going to get the car like slowed up for that, let alone get alongside.
Yeah, great heads up by Jorge to make sure and leave that one open. Hraski still sticking with it, not giving up on this one. Coming down into the hairpin. And so let's see if he makes another send. I hope not. And no, he is going to just kind of stay behind this time between them, but he does get Nieva to go a little bit deep. Oh, but unfortunately he has to check up. It's just too narrow through that exit.
Yeah, Nieva's just he's looking like he's a little bit weak on corner exit, pretty much generally around the track. He's kind of driving into the corners a little bit too deep. As Hraski does exactly the same thing right there. But yeah, good example actually. You see how much Hraski loses on exit.
Ooh, Randy.
Nieva's been having that same thing.
Randy Huff had an off at Fangio. You talked about how that chicane is no longer flat out, and he had a wild ride in that number 31. So he's going to fall down to 12th. Let's take a look at the replay on this one. So here we go. This will be out of the hairpin, and watch through the first part of the Fangio chicane. You're going to see him start to accelerate. So the right-hander coming up here. Car starts to get loose. Hello.
Going for a little bit of a rallycross moment there. Across the second part as well, you know, why not?
Yeah, thankfully, with this car getting light over those little bumps, he didn't completely spin it and return to the track in the right direction. But in the meantime, that means that Michael Grissinger is now caught up to him to try and pry 12th place away as we come onto the front stretch. That's Grissinger just behind in the red machine. Randy Huff in the yellow and blue number 31. And it's actually, honestly, if he's number 31, he's sitting in 12th position. It's going to be a handy iRating haul for him.
Yeah, it's looking quite good right now for him, and you know he's got just over half the race to go, so it's definitely not a done deal, but right now it's going quite well. And we were looking at that battle that we had with Hraski and Nieva. It looks like John Olsen, who's recovering from that spin that he had down at the hairpin, he's about to join that fight too.
Doing a very good job of getting this back together. So, ooh, and Paul Ferrer now gives one up to Gary Ho as well, I think. Let's take a look at the replay. And through turn 3, once again, just off into the grass. He saw it coming, tried to catch the slide. Just caused him to be slow. 2 offs, actually. Wow, okay, that car is not handling well right now.
Yeah, and it's very much a rhythm car, the 49, so, you know, when you have that first off, it's actually pretty easy to have a second, as this battle's really heating up now.
Yeah, that's Hraski having to go at Nieva. Nieva dealing with the pressure. But this is going to be a great run, potentially. No, didn't look like the car wanted to grip up for the 12. Loses a bit of space. It's a long backstretch, but not long enough for the 49s, who have a lot of power, and they get down it quickly. He tries to duck to the inside. Not sure if that was attack or defense, as Olsen is also behind him, filling up the mirrors.
Yeah, Olsen gained a lot on the entry to Sunset there. It looked like there's kind of a little bit of defensive play at the front of this line, and it's really allowed Olsen to kind of get to the back of this pair.
Each of them taking slightly different lines through turn 1 as we hop back on once again with Rasky. Not able to do anything down into turn 3. In fact, he goes very wide, 2 wheels into the dirt. He collects it up. So he can have 2 offs as well. Nope, that one was a lot better. But certainly looks like this track, which despite being very flat, is costing a lot of drivers corner exits that send them off into the grass.
Yeah, and it's actually a really, really difficult track. You wouldn't really think it too much looking at, say, the track map itself in 2D, but there's obviously a lot of surface changes with the concrete pads and whatnot, and the surface itself is just ridiculously rough. It's a very, very demanding track. I actually wasn't a big fan of it for a long time, but recently I've kind of, I can appreciate it. I enjoy it.
I'm glad you can appreciate it. I'm one of those, too, that doesn't really like it and has it for a long time. Driving, at least. Watching races, though, it puts on an incredible show. I think Timothy Porter just had an incident because I see him heading down through the timing and scoring.
Yep. He's taken the old layout for the hairpin.
Whoop. And slow-mo off. Wow, kept it out of the barriers, though. And he's grateful for that old layout as he uses that paved runoff, thankfully. Yeah, we were talking about that before the race at that, the new hairpin, quote-unquote new, after 91 it was added, had been nicknamed the safety pin for the first few years by drivers.
And there's a good example as why, he had a mistake, and he was able to woe it up and take the old layout, and, it almost looked like he did it intentionally for the second part.
Yeah, I think so. Toga Hisada 5 seconds ahead. I think this will be win number 4 to his name. I'll have to double check to see what his stats are this season. Real quick, could you look at Timothy Porter's car again? Because I just realized, is that a Netscape logo?
Yep. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, is that a Netscape logo? And yes, it is.
Is Netscape still a thing even? Or is that...
I don't know. I don't know. Someone please let us know.
I was in middle school when I last remember using that. So, yeah, this was like mid-90s. My goodness. Talk about a blast from the past. But credit for a clever little paint scheme there on this car. But so far, Hisada leading. And yes, this would be win number 4 for Togo in the Grand Prix Legends broadcast races, 3rd of the season. Remember, he came in 2nd in the points, and Tixier is the one he's chasing, with Sebastian back in 3rd. I can't do the math for the drop points right now. This might mean Togo back to the top spot coming into the finale.
Yeah, and throughout the season we've seen that Togo has been really, really fast. Obviously, raw pace-wise, has been one of the outright quickest drivers we've seen in the series. But some of those early rounds, they just didn't really go that well, especially actually the opening laps. And I'm gonna have to stop talking about this because we've got a real battle going on right now. I believe it's Gary Ho, Michael Grissinger, and Paul Frere are super close together coming up towards the end part of the lap.
Indeed it is. Ho chasing Fair, but Huff there in the 31 is leading the train in 13th position. This is Tixier you see on your screen, but down for that 13th spot. Ooh, Paul Ferrer's got a great run right now. If we can head over there on the Ullman straight, he's going to look to the inside, going to try and outbrake him in a sunset bend, but Randy finds himself much, much deeper on the binders. He's going to stay ahead, but for how long? Is it too deep? No, he handles it well. Still, another bite of the apple for the number 20 here, Christian.
Yeah, definitely going to have another opportunity down into turn 1. But, it's a 4-car fight right now. Oh, as Andrew Eng has gone around in Sunset Bend.
And that was Gary Ho in the background going very shallow for some reason. And, Cortinez, is that through Le Mans? I think, yeah, so out of Le Mans, finds himself facing the wrong way. Thankfully, is able to get it rolling. But back to John Olsen here, chasing Miro Hraski. So he's got himself into 9th, but certainly was much higher up than this. Remember, he started in 6th. I think it was in 5th place at one point.
Yeah, and this group of 3 is kind of been pretty close as well.
Ooh.
You see Hraski makes a mistake. Olsen's going to have an opportunity here, but difficult place to make a pass.
Yeah, around the outside of Bishop. I was going to say, and he actually goes into the grass there, discovers why we don't see too wide in the Lotus 49s through Bishop very often. So he's going to have to re-rack and try it somewhere else. In the meantime, as they come onto the Ullman straight, he's much tighter down to the apex. That gains him time. Does it gain enough time is the question. Coming down Ullman, he's got a huge run. He might actually try this. He's going to look to the inside. He's going to try and outbrake him. He's given the inside. He's through. And does he have the job done? Hraski tries to cut back underneath, but nothing doing. Olsen into 8th place with a brilliant move.
Yeah, and we see the pair of these drivers actually be very, very strong on the brakes. Is there going to be a fight back from Hraski? It doesn't look like there is into turn 1.
Yeah, Olsen's on a tear right now. He's got the red mist down a little bit. He wants to try and make up whatever he can at this point to get close to the positions he lost, but it's going to be 3 more seconds up the road to Nieva from here. So a little bit harder to try and run that down with only 5 laps. He's going to have a massive pace advantage to do something with that one. And behind him, Hraski spinning up the rears, trying to keep up with the flying John Olsen for now.
Yeah, and Nieva was actually part of this battle, so he's been able to escape whilst this pair has had their own little bit of a fight. But I think Nieva was actually pulling away anyway, because for a while he was under threat from Hraski, and that's just kind of completely disappeared.
Need to check the points on these F2s. And yeah, Nieva might get the lead back, but it's going to be tight. He's still got to overtake Maudsley as well in points. He's ahead of him on track by about 4 positions, it looks like. So he's still going to gain on him. It's just a question of how much, and I got to go check the points tally to try and figure that one out. But right now, Jorge is well positioned to gather a haul for himself and see if he can get back on top into the finale for that F2 championship. Did Paul Farah just lose another one? I think Gary Ho just went by.
He did. Yep.
This is another slip up from Paul in the 20. So as we take a look at that into Cunningham. So this is coming down into the hairpin. It's going to be a little bit after this.
It's quite the send. It's quite the send here.
Oh, it starts back here. Wow. Okay, then. Well, the attack starts, and I wonder if that just put him off just enough as a little bit of a slip-up. Does he feel threatened? Car's still not completely under control as he slides it through Fangio and then outbreaks himself into Cunningham. And Gary says, thank you very much. That'll be 14th. Well, as I say that, right now, Pole just took that one right back, and the 20 is into 14th once again.
And it's getting close for second right here. Ove's under threat from Tixia.
He is 0.4 of a second. Sebastian, who earlier in the race was fighting with Granberg just to stay on the podium. Now, once more, he wants to slow down the damage that Togo Hisada is going to be doing on that championship lead. And we're going to be 4 to go next time by the line. So, flying down through Bishop once again. What if we could look at a lap comparison here between the 8 and the 7? Oh, a little bit hot into the corner there for Trangarade. It might be a moot point. He's going to stick it in, coming down at Le Mans, and he is going to be through. It is a moot point. As Sebastian Tixier, a decisive move. As soon as that door opened up, Christian, he was there.
Yeah, he wasn't waiting around at all. I thought he would wait for the attack in the sunset with Ove getting a kind of a little bit of a poor exit, but no, he didn't even need to wait. He just went for it right away at Le Mans.
Looks like Gary Hill may have had a problem in the meantime, but we got to stick with this just in case. We got to fight back coming down the main straight. No, a poor exit by Ove. Trangrade and Sebastian is up into P2, and I'm pretty certain that's only going to be a 5-point swing between himself and Togo Hisada then. We're going to take one more look at this pass. There's a little bit of the mistake right there. Wheels over the curbing and acts as a little bit of a rail almost, just guiding the car along the wrong line. And from there, Sebastian Pounce.
Yeah, Ove was just a little bit too deep into the start of that complex, and it put him offline. But Tixier, I was really surprised he was able to get that move done so early on. I really did think he was going to have to wait until sunset, but just no need at all. But right now he's getting checked up just a little bit here, but no opportunity for Ove.
So here's the interesting thing in this. It's a 5-point swing, but it was 4 points difference coming into it. Drop points, I don't think will count for either of them in this. Not entirely sure. Again, it does complicate things a little bit, but if that's the case, if they finish as is, I think Hisada will be leading by a single point into the finale if it finishes as is. That's the big question, because you can see the 7 of Trangarade doesn't want to let this one go.
Yeah, Ove's not giving up. He's still got 3 laps to get this back, and I'm kind of a bit surprised. It looked like he was almost caught sleeping, so maybe that pass has woke him up, and he's going to have a chance.
I like seeing a woken up and a riled up Ove Trangarade, because he is a joy to watch. Gives us some big action as he likes to slide the car around using that Norwegian heritage to treat it more like a rally car. And though he didn't get a good enough run this time, he's still close enough that if he sees anything like Sebastian did from Ove, he is going to have the same chance to just try and pounce immediately.
Yeah, and Tixier is keeping it really quite nice and tidy right now. I haven't seen him drive deep into any corner, but obviously Ove's hustling it behind him.
He's close coming out of turn 5, now through Big Bend. Let's see if he tries an attack, maybe down into the hairpin. He showed a little nose briefly and then back to the racing line. No, nothing doing into turn 7. And then accelerating through Fanyes. We've seen cars lose a little traction through here at times. So far, so good. Oh, a little slow, a slip up, has to catch it. Trangarade, maybe a little wary as the car bobbled back and forth and sliding off. Tixier gives up second position. That might be job done unless Ove himself makes a mistake, because it's a full 1.5 seconds between them now.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Ove does make a mistake, or if maybe Ove checks up. We've seen from Ove before that he's just out here to race, so he might actually slow up and restart this battle.
I wondered with how difficult it is through Fangio if they're going to be pushing at the maximum here. Yeah, and the car just starts to feel the rear go around. Great catch, though. And then, unfortunately, the car overheated, maybe? Because does the slide do that to the car that quickly?
They're pretty robust, I would say, of these tires. But, it kind of does look like it starts early on, where he starts sliding in Fangio. But Ove's slid through sunset and given the position back.
Oh, wow. So the fight is not over. Tixier back into P2 once again, and we are now 2 to go. This has been fantastic, and he's less than 1/10 of a second away at times coming down some of these straightaways as that Roadrunner shod car now acts the part of the Coyote, the attacker instead of the defender.
Yeah, and it wasn't even really a need for an aggressive pass from Tixier. Ove just got in too deep into sunset, didn't really have any momentum by the mid-corner, and Tixier just drove straight flat underneath him.
Coming down into the hairpin once again. Last time out, he was able to shake a mistake out of the number 8. Can he do it again? He's right underneath that gearbox. In through Fangio. It was the second apex that caught out Tixier. This time, did he learn his lesson? That's a big yes. Closing under braking, though. Wow, big gains from the Norwegian.
Yeah, Ove's taking a different line through Fangio, and it's setting him up a bit straighter. Oh, Hisada's actually gone off.
He's back on. He had enough of a gap. It looks like he's okay. But that was a spin. He had a distraction. Lance Simon went off. I think Lance Simon may be active as a bit of a little point of distraction and caught him out. And now it's come down to about 3.3 seconds, but Togo Hisada lives to fight another day.
Yeah, and he's been so strong. He was completely he was so far out in the lead. He was almost 10 seconds in the lead. So to have that happen, yeah, that's a pretty scary moment.
Here it is, right here. It's going to be into tower turn, so it'll be the right-hander here. It is a curved braking, but I don't think it's all on him.
No, it is. There's no other car involved there. Obviously, the car ahead was having its own moment, but Hisada spin all by himself.
Interesting stuff. He's got to keep that from happening because he now no longer has enough space to try and make another oops, because Tixier is about 3 seconds behind Trangrade right with him, and they're on the final lap of this race. They've now got the lap traffic. This is Lance Simon all the way up to 22nd place in the number 26 car. Nicely done. He saw them coming, knew that this is a tight battle. When he had an opportunity, he lets them by.
Yeah, that was a good place to let everybody pass there. Pulling across the inside of the straight. Everybody not needing to check up can just hold it wide open and take the outside.
Now, this series prides itself on fair play out here as well, that the drivers consider sportsmanship a very closely guarded little quality amongst each other. But as they come down into tower, as they get very tight, it's not tight enough for a pass, and it's certainly not tight enough to try and attack Togo Hisada, who has a few more corners to make it not only his third win of the season, but the win that may take him into a championship lead into the finale. And we wondered after last season, getting that breakthrough win at Indianapolis, is this his opportunity to try and maybe fight for the championship? He came out swinging this season. He had a win early, got a second one under his belt. Now make it 3 times as Togo Hisada takes the win in the championship. We believe, as the car gets a little loose, but he is going to have it to the line. Victory for Togo. Sebastian in second and Trangrade in third.
Well, he's flipping across the line here.
Yeah, wheels grabbing the jersey barriers and sending the car over. I've done that accidentally in a race myself, grabbing the side and unfortunately ending the race prematurely as Bill Tyler comes across in 5th position. Nicely done there. Olsen winding up 8th after his off a little bit earlier. Pol Fair and Don Peak have been in a very close fight. Pol just overtook Don late in the race. Last lap, Gary
He's
Ho.
gone deep, though.
Oh,
the battle's still on.
Don's going to get to the inside, but the job's not done. Slides a little bit of a touch. Doesn't send him around, but that allows Gary Ho by as well. Down the back stretch, could Gary get one more spot? Pol Fair gonna defend. He breaks very early, round the outside, almost gets into the side of him. It's gonna be a battle through the final corner, but Pol Fair looks like he's gonna come out ahead. He'll take 14th as Ho settles for 15th and Don Peak trundles across in P16. Last of our 21 drivers on the lead lap coming through. And we are going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Sebring International Raceway. We find ourselves with quite the battle here today. Togo Hisada, though, was mostly clear for much of the race, taking a victory. A little bit of a sketchy moment at the end, but his third of the season should, we believe, give him the points lead. Sebastien Tixier, P2, and that was the fight we were watching. Ove Trangrade, and he's swapping back and forth with 5 laps to go. And it wound up in Sebastian's favor for second. Trangrade finishing third. Martin Granberg, who at one time was close to Seb, could do no better than fourth, as Bill Tyler finished P5. Fabian Donna is in 6th position. Then you've got Jorge Nieva in 7th, followed by John Olsen in the 8th position. It's Miro Haraski finishing 9th, and Robert Plumley, a nice run to get a top 10 here today, Christian.
Yeah, likewise a nice run from Matthew Maudsley. He went from 17th up to 11th. We didn't speak too much about him, but, a good run there. Just missing out on the top 10. Michael Grissinger, 15th to 12th. Randy Ho, a really good run, actually, up from 19th to 13th. The Paul Fair driver who put on a great show for us went 24th to 14th, with Gary Ho 16th to 15th. And Don Peak, he just missed out at the end of the race, but still comes home in 16th with Eugenio Massa. He's in 17th. Andrew Ang had a little bit of an incident towards the end of the race, but, still a good run, 27th to 18th. Cam Porter, he unfortunately came home in 19th, with Glenn Becker, 20th to 20th.
21st went to Ben Summers, who started 31st today. He didn't get a lap time in qualifying. Lance Simon as well, 32nd to 22nd. Alvaro Cortinez, a lap down in 23rd. Gary Anderson finished in 24th. Back row Bob, the last one lap down in 25th. From there, unfortunately, it was DNFs all the way down to 33rd position, with a number of drivers finding themselves out even by the end of lap 1, unfortunately. But Sebastien Tixier, who finished second, is ready to chat with us. And Sebastien, a great fight there for second place. It was incredible to watch. But the interesting thing, and I'm not sure if our math is right on this, I think you're going to go into the last round 1 point behind Togo. How are you feeling?
Well, I have no... When I started the season, I was just wanted to finish races, so it's really unexpected for me. And especially this race, I don't know if you can hear in my voice, but I went out with some friends, drink some beers, and when I come back home, it was like 9 o'clock, and I have to register to the race and just race. I'm so tired. I have no idea how I managed to do second already.
If that's the sort of behavior that gets you a second place, it sounds like partying might be the key. I wouldn't advise it, but still just shy of that first win this season in the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, at least on the broadcast races. What's it going to take to finally break that duck?
Well, if I remember correctly, the race at Nürburgring not been it because it was all on my own. Like I just started to think about it too much and make mistakes. So now since these races, actually, I just do the race. I don't expect anything and don't think about. Try to not think about it, and I think that's the key. Like not try to overthink the win.
We saw a lot of drivers look like they were struggling with the car being loose in a few corners. In fact, you almost gave up a spot at one point, getting loose through the swift chicane out of the hairpin. What was it? What did it feel like inside the cockpit? Did you notice that it felt particularly slidey today?
Yeah, it was like the temp was way higher than when I practiced in the beginning of the week, and so I just registered like 30 minutes before and started to do laps, and I couldn't even do one qualifying lap. I was like crashing all the time, so I was like, okay, it's a good start. And yeah, it was very loose on the rear, and I almost spun in lap 1 like at the beginning, and another time. And so what I did at the beginning of the race, I put the rear anti-roll bar softer, and I think it saved me from crashing really instead of just losing the rear a little bit.
Oh, nicely done then. In that case, definitely more savvy than I am about getting these things set up. But again, congratulations on a podium. Is there anybody you'd like to thank? And give us a prediction for the finale. Where do you think you're going to wind up in the points after all is said and done?
The finale is at motorsports, right?
Yes.
I really like this track, so like I said, I don't want to have any expectation, but if I finish top 3 on the championship, I will be happy, and I think Togo will win it.
All right, well, watch out for that. That was Sebastian Tixier, your second place finisher here today. A driver that had a much worse day was Laust Olsen, who didn't even get to see the end. Christian has caught up with him.
Last, it started out really nicely, you know, a great qualifying inside the top 10, but we kind of got to talk about that first lap. It sort of went wrong when you got down to turn 2, and it didn't really get much better from there.
No, I was pretty glad for the qualifying. It was my personal best for this week, so actually I felt good, but then I messed up braking into turn 2, and yeah, I was pretty lucky I didn't hit anyone, I think, and almost kept it on track, but once on the outside curb I didn't dare turn more, afraid spinning in front of the entire field, so I opted for the grass instead, and then later on I saw Gary spinning off, and just as I was noticing it, I lost my own rear end and mimicked his move exactly, so just got a little less repair out of it, so yeah, not a good day for me. You know, sometimes sometimes you're your own worst enemy, and that was true for me today.
Well, I think it's fair to say that pretty much everybody out there was struggling with kind of the same thing. We chat a little bit with Sebastian there. He was talking about how easy it was to lose the rear end of the car, and as you say, obviously you weren't the only person to have that lap 1 incident in that same place. The exact following corner with 2, I think it was 2 laps ago, it might have been 3 laps ago, we saw Togo Hisada. He was 9 seconds out in the lead, and he spun out in pretty much exactly the same way. So I wouldn't feel too bad about it. I feel like you just got unlucky in terms of where it happened. You know, it could have happened anywhere else on the track, and you would have had miles and miles of runoff, and you kind of found the one place where you didn't. But you did stick it out. You got back out there. You were scored 33rd and dead last after that first lap, but you managed to recover a little bit to 28th. So. Hopefully that will, stem the iRating loss a little bit, but we kind of don't really have too much to talk about for your actual race at Sebring. So, want to get some thoughts on Mosport next week. What are you thinking about that track?
I love that track. That's really fun. But again, it's a great challenge in this car. So many places to get it wrong. I remember actually the first time I tried the Lotus 49, just when it came out many years ago. I tried it out at Mosport, and I couldn't even go on the back straight all the way without losing the car and hitting something. So it was a real challenge then, and I think it's a bit easier now, but you can still there's still plenty of places at Mosport where you have to be careful, but it's a challenging track and very fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of my kind of personal favorites in the car as well. So hopefully that'll be a good race. Over the course of the season though, it's been pretty good for you in the kind of the Grand Prix Legends Championship. You scored an 8th coming into Sebring. It's been a good campaign, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy for most of it. Of course, it's annoying when you do mistakes that cost you some good positions. But I'm right a little behind the top guys, but I'm still improving in this car. So hopefully there's more to come in the next couple of seasons. So. I will work on it.
Well, it sounds good, and we've been kind of following your progress, and we see you always kind of in that top 10 fight. So it's great to hear that you'll be coming back next season. Hopefully, that's kind of what I took from that. And before we let you go today, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just the Lotus 49 community in general, and you guys for the great broadcasts. And again, we are going to the Discord, Lotus 49 Discord, where we will watch the broadcast back together. So if anybody listening on and they are on the Lotus 49 Discord, they should join us for the rewatch.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for coming and chatting with us today, and good luck for Motorsport next week. Hopefully it goes a little bit better than today did.
Thank you.
That was Laust Olsen, who wound up 28th in the end today, unfortunately. But before we go, once again, want to give a quick shout to our sponsor, Majors Garage. Check out the link in our description below and use our promo code MajorsGSRC to get 10% off. Also, thanks to the Grand Prix Legends series for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, Christian, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Check out our merchandise store as well. It's gsrc.storeenvy.com. There's also a link in the description for that one. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because, as we said, the finale will be at Motorsport Saturday, February 5th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. One more up today. The Campbell GT Series goes to Motegi's Grand Prix course at noon Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.